Good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. Yonnette. I am so happy that you've joined me this morning. I hope you're having a good Saturday morning. I am coming to you today with one very explosive topic. One very explosive topic. I want to talk with you today about love. I mean, love. Yes, everybody wants to say they're in love. They're in love and they love the other person they're with so completely, so effortlessly. We were meant to be together. God gave you to me. All that sweet, mushy stuff that we say to each other. And I want us to really explore that topic. What does love mean? Because Thursday, I celebrated, along with my husband, we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, 20 years together. And, it's really time to sit back and process your experience. How many of us do that? Process the experience that we have had over those 20 years. Process how we were originally when we first met, when we first said I do, when we first said our I do's. I remember it was December 16th for me. And even though it was in Massachusetts, during the December month, we had a glorious day. It was nice and warm and sunny, and I was in my glory. I'll post one of my pictures from way back then, 20 years ago when we first got married. And it was an awesome day, a day that I could never erase from my memory. But now we're looking at 20 years later with a 17-year-old son and years of being together, moving from place to place, from house to house. We've bought a few houses together and moved from one state to the next. And, you know, it's time for reflection, reflecting on how we have built our lives together. And I want each of you, whether you're married, contemplating marriage, or you haven't even started to think about it. What do you think love is? That's the first question to you. What is love? What is love? And does love change after 5, 7, 14, 20 years of marriage, 40 years of marriage? Do you just relax into a relationship that you have grown accustomed to? Or are there expectations? Are there expectations from your spouse in regards to your relationship? Have you gotten to the point where you have said, oh, well, I've been preaching this sermon every day and it's not getting through. So I am just going to forget it. I'm going to accept things as they are and just move on. Yes, my needs are not being met. Well, I know every need that you have cannot be met, but those basic, and I shouldn't say basic, those needs that you consider important, like emotional needs, need for companionship, need for sex and intimacy. Have you gotten to the point where you're saying that I've been preaching and preaching and preaching day after day, and my spouse is not hearing me? My spouse is not hearing me, so I am going to just settle. This relationship is too comfortable. I've invested so much in the relationship, and I am not going to bother myself about going anywhere. I'll stay and fulfill my vows, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, until death do us part. And I'm just going to be comfortable in my current situation. That's one option that you have. Your other option is to say, no, when I got into this marriage, I came in with a commitment. And I am committed to working at this marriage until it works. I know that's a challenge because you cannot make the other person in the relationship do what you want. You can try, you can speak, you can seek counseling, you can work on it together. But a lot of times, both parties have to be invested in getting to the point that you, the other person who are feeling that you're not being affirmed, needs. So, how do you, in a relationship, work towards ensuring that both parties involved are being satisfied? Or is it even worth it? Is it that after 10, 15, 20 years, 40 years, even 30 years of trying, that, you just say, life is too short. I'm going to just chuck this in and move on and see if I can get some form of happiness in the years that I have left here on this earth. Is that an option? How do you respond? How do you respond in a relationship where both individuals need affirmations, need to be affirmed? I mean, like I said earlier, there's no perfect relationship, and there's never going to be a time where all your needs are going to be met. But those basic, very important needs that you may have, how do you address those needs being met? Do you have time when you sit down together as a couple and talk about how we can examine and revitalize our relationship? Or do you just say, it is what it is? Are you comfortable with just saying it is what it is? Now, I talked about revitalizing that relationship, but in essence, how do you revitalize or rekindle a relationship when you don't even know what the other person wants? You don't understand what the other person wants. And here is where I think as individuals, we need to learn how to listen. We need to learn how to listen to each other and not end up providing our own idea, our own stamp of what we think love should look like. Because, some people might be saying, I love her. I buy her flowers. I sing to her all the time. I take her on trips. I buy her jewelry. I talk about her all the time to my friends and loved ones. I am really in love with this woman. And there is nothing anybody can tell me that would show that I don't love this woman. People might be saying that, or that I don't love this man because I carry his children, I cook for him every day, I clean, I work on top of what he is doing to support the family. So nobody can tell me that I don't love my spouse. Perhaps, but do you love your spouse the way your spouse expects to be loved? That's the question. Are you loving your spouse in the way that your spouse interprets as love? Are you really giving to the other person what they are looking for? Some people would tell you that I don't want things, I want your time, and your spouse might be saying, I am working so that you can be comfortable, so we can have a good home together, so we can go places, we can travel, we can have stuff. But is there a time when the stuff takes over, or when the focus on having stuff takes over, so that the value in the relationship is lost because you're so focused on, you know, providing, providing, like the men may say, providing, or even making sure the house is in complete order and the children are taken care of and everything is in tip top shape? Are you so involved in the minutiae, the peripheral things around a relationship, so that you are neglecting your spouse? You know, we need to examine ourselves in that regard. It's easy. When I was growing up, we had a saying, I think people still use it today, that words are cheap. It's easy for you to say, I love you. It's easy to plug in a song, a love song, and send it to your spouse. Granted, you have to be thinking of your spouse to do that, but that's only a basic form of involvement with that relationship. How much time do you spend for intimacy? And when I say intimacy, I don't mean um intimacy. I am talking about intimacy in terms of getting to know the other person, what your spouse loves, what excites them, what, brings them pleasure. Just getting to know your spouse's experiences and relationships in the past, and how that person has grown into the person that he or she is. Just connecting, just sitting there cuddling and talking, and really, your chemical um composition, if I could say that, are fusing from you into the other person, just by being there, having those tender moments of interactions, and genuinely trying to learn about the other person, understand what makes the other person tick, understand what makes the other person feel loved. Are you doing that? Can you do that? Is that something that is necessary? Or, after being married and I'm coming home every day, and I'm not running women, or I'm not running men, and I'm bringing home the bacon, that she should know that I love her, or he should know that I love him. He doesn't need anything else. I want to submit to you that that's the old-fashioned way of loving your spouse. And for a relationship to be intimate and valuable and bring fulfillment to the people involved, requires your time and attention and your energies. There's another saying that I hold dear: what gets attention grows. So if you're not attending to your relationship, it's not going to grow. You need to spend time to love on your spouse, to love on your spouse to the extent that each person in the relationship feels affirmed and appreciated. 20 years, that's me, 20 years. And I'm reflecting today so that my relationship can be the best possible. What's your strategy? What's your secret? Have you been married 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, whatever the number is? What's your secret? How do you keep your relationship strong and healthy and exciting? And how do you ensure that each spouse feels honored and affirmed and loved in their own special way. This is Dr. Yonnette. Thank you for joining me this morning. Have a wonderful, fabulous day and happy anniversary, Anton.